What are you really experiencing on your spiritual awakening journey, and why? Now, in this video, I really wanted to capture this is going to be like a Cole's Notes version of your spiritual awakening journey to give you a broader snapshot of what's really happening, especially if you are new to the journey and you don't really know why you've, kind of experienced a spiritual awakening, whether you were looking for it or not. And it makes it really difficult, especially when you're not a seeker. When you are experiencing a spontaneous spiritual awakening, it is much more difficult to get through a spiritual awakening because you don't know the ABCs of spirituality. You are just trying to learn what is going on and what this really all means for you. And it really doesn't help when you're trying to get that information piece by piece. So in this video, I am attempting to kind of give you a broader snapshot of everything that you're going through, why you're experiencing this, and what your calling really is on this journey, and what you're being really asked to do. So hopefully this video is going to give you that broader perspective to really help you along your path if you've just landed and had this spiritual awakening. Now, first off, I want to say that just to really have been given a human birth in this lifetime that you're experiencing currently is a massive, massive blessing. Basically, what it shows you, if you are experiencing a human birth currently in the cycle of, various different species, and yes, we do have other lifetimes where we haven't been human because we actually, over lifetimes and lifetimes, thousands and thousands of years, have really gone through an evolution process. Not kind of like the Darwinian theory of going from, ape to caveman to human, but more like, plant to animals to humans. And so over lifetimes, what you've been trying to do is really expand your consciousness. And so with each lifetime, you go through, different lessons and you implement those lessons. And then with successful completion of those lessons that were part of your soul's path, you evolve and you end up expanding your consciousness. Now, just because you have a human birth does not mean you are at the same consciousness level as somebody else. If you just look around within your own circle, take a look at your family, take a look at people at school, possibly people at work, everybody is operating from their own level of consciousness. Everybody has different lessons. Whether they are able to successfully implement those or not depends, or actually determines really what the state of their consciousness is. And so to be a human being, to actually be even experiencing any sort of spirituality, understanding that God is within you, is a profound blessing. Now, you want to think of, consciousness almost like a ladder that you climb. If you think about how you are trying to really climb that ladder, it goes both ways, downward and upward. And yes, it's possible that after being a human being, if you haven't met your lessons, if you have chosen specific actions that aren't really, let's say, evolving your state of consciousness, but rather going in the opposite direction, based on your karmic activity, you could drop down back to a lower species. That is possible. Moving towards the divine, moving to higher states of consciousness actually is evolving, further on this ladder going upward. And if you are choosing more of the ego-based, selfish, fulfilling selfish desires, almost running into places of wanting to control people, run into being of power, all about the self, then you are moving down on this ladder of consciousness. So basically, if you take a look around the world, you can see those that are predominantly moving towards unity, moving towards the divine, and others that are moving in the opposite direction. The good news is that ultimately, over lifetimes and lifetimes, everybody is supposed to go back home, which is back to the Creator. But some people get there faster and others will get there slower. It just depends on your life's lessons. Are you learning them or not? If not, you get into what we call a repeating cycle of learning from those lessons. And until we learn, we don't move forward. right? Almost like a level of a video game. If you don't master that, you don't really get to move forward. So that's really what's happening during your human birth. So basically, with each lifetime, you are looking to, recycle and basically reincarnate over and over. The great thing about your progress that you make in each lifetime is that it's never lost. It stays with you. It stays in your spiritual body, and you get to carry that over into your next lifetime. Now, as part of, really evolving from what's happening to you, don't actually get to remember as a human of what might have happened, because if that is the case, then you would approach the, lessons that you have with that prior knowledge, not making the same mistakes. And so therefore, you do not remember what has occurred, previously in your past lifetimes. Even though you move through each lifetime with, that previous progress really being stored, you do not have the memory of it until you reach a specific vibration, really carry on with that same certain path and keep evolving further. Now, when you actually experience a spontaneous awakening, which is where you might be now, what's really happening is the creator being within you, not found in churches, mosques, temples, but really is the essence of you, is very close to you, within you, is calling you home. And really, like I said earlier, everybody's destination at the end is going to be to come back home to the creator. So when you're experiencing a spiritual awakening, that is your call from the creator to really go within. And so as much as, people may be saying, I have awakened, we really want to look at awakening not as something that's happening on the outside. So for example, if you start your inward journey, let's say you start meditating because you are now actively pursuing that, you want to re-experience whatever it is you might have experienced with your awakening. It might have been a kundalini awakening experience. It might have been a visual that you got. It might have been, you realizing that you're not your mind because, we are not our mind. And maybe you've had an experience where you've just realized, wait, there is a soul that is actually behind the mind and is separate from the mind. And, everybody's experience looks different. So whatever that looks like for you, that is making you now want to seek and search inward, and you're trying to really make sense of this. Basically, what is happening is for you to go and merge with the divine, go in search for the divine, which is inside of you. On this journey, people still get lost, even though, God is within and you are being called to really go inside. People will get, stuck with let's say mystical experiences along the way and think that's it, that's all I'm meant to experience. They may get so tied up into their sole purpose or helping other people along the journey that they lose sight of their own inner progress. So there are challenges and obstacles all along the way, but really what you want to remember throughout this journey is that you are meant to go home. You are meant to merge back with the creator. And until that is done, your awakening is not complete. So, really you want to think about this being a human being. There is a division among humans at this time. Those that are seeking the ego, satisfied with the ego, their desires are about themselves. And those that are seeking unity, trying to find out about God, have love for others. And that's really where the division is. Your job, obviously, on this journey is not to judge anybody. Everybody is going to evolve at their own pace and their own time. It may take more than one lifetime for them to do so, but that is really what's occurring at this time. Now, when we talk about the new earth, you might have heard this term. It's really what's happening is there is a huge divide among people based on their state of consciousness. Those working towards unity are going to experience what we call new earth. If you take a look at what's happening around the world, the earth is literally dying in terms of sustainability, the environment. It is not able to sustain itself as it has over various ages. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in the cosmic cycle, we are currently in the last stage, which is the Iron Age. So the Earth, ever since its development, goes through 4 stages: the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Copper Age, and the Iron Age. we are currently in the Iron Age. And the new earth really represents that shift that people go through in consciousness, moving towards unity. So those that are on the path of love, those are on the path of seeking God and uniting with God, get to experience that new earth. Versus those that are still evolving, those that need more time, will still, work through that. In case you're wondering about the Iron Age and, what the Hindus call the Kali Yuga, being the Iron Age and the 4 ages, what is most important to understand at this time in the summarized version is that Kali Yuga and the Iron Age really represents when there is an imbalance between the light and dark in this world. Kali Yuga really represents that age where darkness really becomes more prominent than the light. And therefore, think of your spiritual awakening almost as an opportunity, as a breakout from that darkness. It's an attempt to really balance out what is needed. And those that are moving towards the Creator, those that are moving towards that higher state of consciousness, have the opportunity to make that split, to make that shift. And not to say that others will be left behind. They will have their turn as well and have their opportunity as well when it's their time. It's just a natural evolution for everybody as a human being and what they really go through. But the clear understanding that you must have is choosing unity, choosing love for others is your key in the grand scheme of things, and really going in search for the divine, which is within you. It can basically be said that the tipping point between the current earth and new earth really is people's own state of consciousness and their frequency. And so what you want to really understand if you're going through the awakening journey is one of 2 things is possibly happening. Or, of course, being called into, your own growth, your own awakening, so that you may wake up from what people are experiencing at this time, that divide between, moving towards unity or moving towards the self. You are being, experiencing that awakening so that you can actually move towards your inner union, moving towards that divine union with the Creator, and really taking steps to go towards that. And the second one may be that you've actually come here with a destined purpose to help humanity because it needs it so much at this time. So it could be either of these. But the key that you want to remember on your journey is to really stay committed to your inner path. It doesn't really help if you are trying to help other people, but you yourself have not completed the work that needs to be done in order for your own divine union. So whatever you do, whatever that looks like on the outside is great, but you want to stay committed to your own inward journey. Now, the more difficult part about the awakening journey truly is that, in order to get to union with the divine, you go through massive amounts of healing that needs to take place before you can go back to your wholeness, go back to that, merging with the divine. And in that process, you do have to look at your own self, your own patterns, overcome your own obstacles. And so that is really what you're looking forward to on this journey. It's not going to be easy, but to have that grander picture in mind of what you're really working through is really, really helpful. Now, for those that are spiritual seekers, it is not as intense as what you experience on an awakening journey. But the benefit of an awakening journey is your path is super accelerated compared to what spiritual seekers actually experience. Now, just to understand that a spiritual seeker can actually go a very long time. It could be years upon years of meditation and still not really finding that truth on the inside. Nevertheless, that progress is never lost. However, when you are experiencing a spiritual awakening, you are really, as much as, this path is intense, it also comes with a huge blessing and divine grace, because the divine is literally calling you home, and it is a really an accelerated path compared to a spiritual seeker's, because you are being asked to heal at an accelerated rate. And that is really going to benefit you. So as much as, you go through the difficulty of an awakening journey, the dark night of the souls, the void, that you go through the various phases, just literally learning about your own patterns, especially those that you are unconscious of. It can be a very difficult journey. Nevertheless, understanding in the grand scheme of things how quickly you are able to really make this progress, especially if you weren't even looking for it and then had a spontaneous spiritual awakening. This is a massive blessing that you really want to put to use and make sure that you are not lost as you move forward on this journey. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. God bless.